The pod had been making a death rattle for hours before it finally gave up and spat her out into the gravity well of a backwater planet. Metal screamed. Alarms chattered in 4 different languages, and the emergency beacon announced, rather unhelpfully, that survival chances were statistically low, but not zero, which was supposed to be comforting. She clung to her harness, long ears flattened to her skull, repeating the same prayer her mother had once whispered before bedtime. If the humans come, hide. If the humans see, run. If the humans catch you, well, no one has ever returned to tell that tale, have they? The pod hit dirt with a crunch and a bounce that jarred her teeth. Dust filled the air, dry and thick, and the canopy cracked open with a wheeze. Echo of falling snow, though she barely dared to call herself by such a grand name, peeked out into an alien sky of pale blue. The air was heavy with oxygen, too much oxygen, really. It smelled like someone had spilled bleach on grass. She coughed, ears twitching, and pressed herself back into the cracked interior. Maybe no one had noticed. Maybe she could just wait until nightfall and creep away unseen. Her hopes shattered with the sound of footsteps, heavy ones. They crunched over gravel, slow and deliberate, and then a shadow loomed against the broken canopy. She froze. The shape was massive, 2-legged, broad-shouldered, and terrifyingly tall. The monster bent down, blocking out the sun, and there it was, a human. He squinted at her like someone peering at a bug that might or might not be venomous. His eyes were strangely soft, though not the glowing predator's gaze she'd been warned about. Still, she knew the stories. Those soft eyes were meant to trick you into lowering your guard. The next thing you knew, you were roasted with herbs. The human said. Hi. The sound of his voice was deep, rumbling through her bones. She pressed her back against the seat, clutching a loose piece of metal like a weapon. Her translator implant crackled, turning his strange syllables into recognizable words. Please don't eat me, she blurted before she could stop herself. The man blinked. His mouth opened, then shut, then opened again. I don't, did you just say eat you? Her ears twitched violently. Yes, I know how it goes. First you pretend to be friendly. Then you season me with, what do you call it, salt and pepper, and possibly garlic. The human made a strangled noise, like he'd swallowed a small animal. It took her a moment to realize he was laughing. Laughing at her impending doom. Lady, he said, wiping his eyes, I don't even cook. Last week I burned instant noodles, you're safe. She narrowed her eyes. The translator reported a 93% probability he was telling the truth, but translators were notoriously bad at detecting sarcasm. That is exactly what a predator would say. Right, he muttered and crouched lower. She flinched, every muscle in her body tense. But instead of lunging, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, shiny packet. He tore it open and held it out like an offering. A strange brown bar rested inside, dotted with suspicious lumps. Granola, he said solemnly, as if this explained everything. Her nose wrinkled. What is a granola? Food for eating. You know, so you don't have to chew on metal scraps. Her stomach, the traitor, made a low, desperate growl. She hated it instantly. The human grinned, showing far too many teeth. Sharp ones. Carnivore teeth, she thought. She pressed herself further back, but the scent of the granola drifted closer, sweet, nutty, almost inviting. Fine, she whispered, snatching it out of his hand before he could retract it. She sniffed, took a nibble, chewed cautiously. To her horror, it was delicious. The man's grin widened. See, not poisoned, not roasted alien, just oats and chocolate. Chocolate, she repeated, suspicious. Yeah, best thing humanity ever invented. Well, that and indoor plumbing. She tilted her head. So you admit you have inventions specifically designed for devouring small creatures. He groaned, rubbing his face. Lady, I'm telling you, nobody's trying to eat you. My name's Ben. What's yours? She hesitated. Her people believed names were power, and giving it to a human was like handing over the key to your own cage. Still, he had fed her. That meant something. Echo of falling snow, she whispered. Echo, he said, rolling it around his tongue. Pretty, little dramatic, but pretty. Dramatic, she snapped, ears bristling. Hey, don't get me wrong, better than Ben. My parents didn't exactly stretch their imaginations. He straightened, dusting his hands on his pants. So, alien girl crash lands in my backyard. Guess this makes me your official tour guide. Her brow furrowed. Tour guide. Yeah, you know, the guy who shows you around, makes bad jokes, points at squirrels and says, "Welcome to Earth's wildlife." That sort of thing. The way he said it, so casual, so utterly unthreatening, made something in her chest tighten then loosen. She hated it. She wasn't supposed to feel safe. She wasn't supposed to laugh when he bent down, plucked a dandelion from the dirt, and held it up like a priceless artifact. "Behold," he declared, "the mighty yellow space flower." "It's a weed," she said flatly. "SHH. Don't ruin the moment." Her mouth twitched. Against her will, the sound that escaped her was almost a laugh, a tiny, startled thing that echoed inside the broken pod. Ben's grin softened, no longer sharp, no longer frightening. Just warm. For the first time since the crash, she wondered if maybe, just maybe, the stories had been wrong. Ben's garage smelled like oil, dust, and something faintly resembling old cheese, which immediately convinced Echo this was a human dungeon. He wheeled her battered pod inside as if dragging a prize catch, while she trailed behind, ears stiff with suspicion. The place was cluttered with strange artifacts, metal tools hanging on hooks, cans of paint, a bicycle missing both wheels, and an object shaped like a headless beast with bristles sticking out of its underside. She froze. "That's a vacuum cleaner," Ben said, following her gaze. "Don't worry, it doesn't eat aliens, just socks." She didn't believe him. The bristles looked hungry. He cleared space on a workbench, pushing aside a helmet with horns and a stack of comic books. Then he squatted by her pod, rubbing his chin. "All right, let's see. Cracked hull, busted thrusters, fried navigation array. Honestly, I've seen toasters in better condition." "Toaster?" she asked, ears flicking. "Yeah. Thing we used to burn bread on purpose." She stared. "You deliberately char food." "Only if we're feeling fancy." He grinned, but when her face remained horrified, he sighed. "Relax, I'll fix it. I'm basically the MacGyver of suburban garages." She tilted her head. "MacGyver, your repair deity." Ben coughed, choking on his own laughter. "Not exactly. TV guy, fixes everything with duct tape and paper clips." Echo considered this. Perhaps humans worship this MacGyver the way her people honored the constellation of silent stars. "Then you will sacrifice duct tape to restore my pod." "Oh, you bet. Duct tape is holy in this garage." He rummaged in a drawer, producing a roll with a flourish. Her translator buzzed uncertainly, suggesting multiple meanings for duct tape, from binding cloth to ritual restraint. She recoiled. "You will bind me." He blinked. "What?" "No, not you, the pod." She eyed him narrowly. "That is exactly what a predator would say." Ben groaned, rubbing his temples. "You've really got trust issues." "I am alive because of them." He looked at her for a long moment, then nodded. "Fair enough." While he tinkered with the pod, she prowled the garage, poking at artifacts. She discovered a glowing box stacked with discs, each covered in strange human glyphs. "What is this ritual storage?" she asked. "DVDs," he said without looking up. "Movies, stories." She frowned. "Stories carved onto circles." "Pretty much," he smirked. "Want to watch one later? I'll pick something educational." "Educational is acceptable." He chose later, with suspicious enthusiasm, a film about humans being devoured by giant reptiles. She lasted 3 minutes before shrieking and throwing popcorn at the screen. "Why would you show me proof of your feeding habits?" She wailed. "That's Jurassic Park, it's fiction." "You cannot prove that." She shouted, ears quivering. But later, when she tasted popcorn again, she admitted grudgingly that it was a worthy snack, though clearly bait for prey. Days passed in a blur of cautious routine. Ben repaired circuits, welded hull plates, and taught her words from his strange tongue. She, in turn, shared fragments of her people's knowledge. When he asked why her ears were so long, she replied gravely, "To detect predators 2 galaxies away." Handy, he said, then leaned close and whispered, "So, can you hear my neighbors fighting about recycling again?" She listened, yes. They argue over banana peels. He laughed until tears rolled down his cheeks. "Oh man, you're better than cable." Her suspicions softened bit by bit. He gave her a blanket fort in the corner of the garage, draped with twinkling lights. At first she thought it was a containment cell, but when she peeked out and saw him sprawled on the floor outside, keeping watch as though guarding her from invisible beasts, something shifted in her chest. She decided to test him. One evening when he handed her another granola bar, she narrowed her eyes and declared, "You are a predator." He puffed up his chest, let out a growl. She laughed despite herself, her voice sharp and musical. "You are living proof that humans cannot remain upright for long." "Gravity is my greatest enemy," he agreed solemnly. In the days that followed, their strange partnership deepened. Ben showed her how to use his microwave, which she mistook for a containment chamber until it exploded her ration pack into sticky goo. He found her studying his fridge magnets one morning and explained they weren't advanced encryption keys but souvenirs. She, in turn, demonstrated her translator's side functions, projecting holographic constellations across the garage ceiling. Ben lay back on the floor staring up at alien star maps while chewing popcorn. "That one looks like a chicken," he said, pointing. "It is the hunter of 9 moons," she corrected. "Chicken," he insisted. Their laughter echoed against the metal walls until the garage felt less like a dungeon and more like something else entirely. One evening, when the repairs were finally holding together, she sat cross-legged on the workbench and asked, "Do all humans live like this?" "Like what?" "In constant battle with machines, eating poison beverages, and building blanket forts for alien girls." He rubbed the back of his neck. "Pretty much. Well, maybe not the last one, that's new." She lowered her gaze. "If my people knew where I was, they would not believe it. They think we're monsters, right?" She nodded. "I believed it too." "And now," he asked softly. She hesitated, ears twitching. "Now I think perhaps you are a very bad monster. You roar badly, you trip often, you fail at cooking, you cannot even conquer your own coffee machine." Ben clutched his chest dramatically. "Ouch, my monstrous reputation." Her mouth twitched into a reluctant smile. But as she leaned back, staring at the alien constellations drifting across the ceiling, her chest tightened. Somewhere out there, her people were searching. If they arrived and saw her here, laughing beside a human, what would they do? She pressed the thought away when Ben offered her another granola bar. For now, she decided, she could pretend the galaxy was only this garage, this human, this moment. And for now, that was enough. The first sign came from Ben's radio. It was an ancient thing with knobs and a bent antenna, usually good only for static and a country station, that seemed to play the same 3 songs on endless loop. One afternoon, as Echo traced circuits on her pod, the static shifted into a crackle of syllables that made her ears stand straight. She froze. "That is my language." Ben, holding a wrench, frowned. "I thought it was just bad reception. Sounds like a robot gargling." "It is not gargling," her throat tightened. "They are searching." Ben squinted at the radio. "For you." "Yes, for me." She climbed down from the workbench, pacing. "They believe humans are predators. If they hear my silence, they will assume you devoured me already." He blinked. That escalated quickly. Her eyes flashed. "It is not a joke, they will come." Ben rubbed his chin. "Well, guess I should make a sign that says not a cannibal. Big neon letters, maybe a smiley face." "This is serious," she hissed. "I'm being serious, sort of." He set down the wrench and sighed. "Okay, let's think this through. Do we want them to find you?" She stopped pacing. "Want?" "Yeah." Option A, you wave hello, they beam you up, happy ending. Option B, you hide, stay here, keep laughing at my terrible coffee machine. Which one's safer? Her ears drooped. Option A means they will burn this planet to save me. "Wow," he muttered, "overprotective much." She crossed her arms. "We were raised to fear you, to believe every human is a devourer." Ben pointed at himself. Do I look like I could devour anything? I nearly choked on your ration pack yesterday. Despite her fear, her mouth twitched. That is true, you are the worst predator in history. Exactly, he grinned. If your people show up, I'll just hand them my microwave. Let them see who the real monster is. The radio sputtered again, louder this time. A voice barked coordinates in sharp tones. Echo's stomach lurched. They are close. Ben tapped the side of the radio. Do we answer? Do we? I don't know, prank call them. Say you're on vacation. Ben. Okay. He raised his hands. No prank calls. That night neither of them slept. Echo sat curled in her blanket fort, staring at the ceiling, while Ben sketched nonsense plans on scraps of paper. One read operation: hide the alien in a closet. Another was paint me green, pretend I'm one of them. You are not funny, she said, though her laugh gave her away. Come on, it'd work. I'd look great with long ears. He wiggled his own ears until she snorted. Her heart pounded with every hum of the radio, but his ridiculous antics chipped away at her panic. By morning, when the signal blared again, she felt steadier. They will land nearby, she whispered. I must face them. Ben looked at his frying pan, which he had for some reason declared his weapon of last resort. He gave it a heroic swing. Then I'll stand with you. Fearsome frying pan man at your service. She groaned. You are absurd. Absurd and loyal, he corrected. Big difference. The next evening, the sky above the neighborhood shimmered with unfamiliar light. A vessel descended, sleek and sharp, humming with energy. Neighbors stumbled onto their lawns, pointing phones at the glowing craft. Echo's heart hammered. They have come for me, she said. Good, Ben replied. Let's give them the surprise of their lives. When the ramp hissed open and her people stepped out in formation, weapons glowing, Echo trembled. The leader's voice rang out. Echo of falling snow, we feared the humans had consumed you. Ben cleared his throat. Nope, 0% consumed. See, she's fine. Echo swallowed hard, then raised her chin. He speaks the truth. I was not harmed. I was fed excessively. Ben added, cookies, granola, popcorn. We're a very snack-based culture. The warriors looked bewildered. One muttered, they fattened her first. Echo burst out laughing, a sharp, musical sound that made the humans watching from their lawns freeze mid-recording. No. You do not understand. He is no predator. He is. She glanced at Ben, who gave her an exaggerated thumbs-up with the frying pan. The clumsiest guardian I have ever known. Her people stared. The human neighbors gawked. Ben adjusted his grip on the pan. Well, he said cheerfully, who's hungry for pizza? And somehow, against every myth she'd ever believed, she felt hope blooming where fear had lived all her life. The street filled with two species staring each other down. Humans in pajamas with their phones raised, aliens in armor gripping weapons that hummed with restrained energy. Echo's long ears twitched as she stepped between them, her chest pounding. Her people's leader raised his staff. Child, come, you will be cleansed of the human's taint. Ben whispered out the corner of his mouth. Wow, rude. I gave you granola bars, not taint. She nearly laughed but steadied herself. I am not tainted, I am changed. The soldiers bristled. The neighbors gasped. Someone yelled, is this a movie shoot? She lifted her chin higher. You told us humans devour all they see. I was prepared to be cooked in salt and garlic. Instead, I was cooked in jokes and kindness. He guarded me with his life. Ben raised his frying pan, and with cast iron. One alien tilted his head. He armed himself with cookware. Yes, Echo said fiercely.